Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled the state of Idaho must provide gender confirmation surgery to Adri Edmo, an inmate at the Idaho Department of Correction.
The ruling means Edmo will be the first transgender inmate in the country to receive the surgery specifically because of a court order.
One medical doctor I spoke to says gender confirmation surgery is a medical necessity for those who feel like their bodies need to match how they feel. No, we don't know the particular cost in this case, but according to Reuters news agency, the Philadelphia Center for Transgender Surgery lists procedures of this nature to total more than $100,000 in some cases.
Now here's what I want you to do. Put yourself in the shoes of an Idaho man, a hard-working, God-fearing, LDS Idahoan. I'm guessing that's how you would refer to someone from Idaho. You're the type of man who works 2 or 3 jobs just in order to provide for your family of 7 children and your wife who doesn't work. And one day you come home and you find a notice posted on your door. Your property taxes have just gone through the roof. You think to yourself, why is this the case? Why am I having to pay so much more? And you think to yourself, I can't afford this. I've got all of these kids and a wife to provide for. You do a little bit of research and you find out that the reason your taxes has gone up is you have to pay for some guy in prison who molested a child to have his penis removed. No, I'm not making this up. This is what's going on right now in Idaho. Now, I poke fun at the fact that a lot of people who live in Idaho are Mormons, but I don't have anything against them. I know people who are LDS and I really respect them and admire the fact that they a lot of times adhere to a more traditional culture. But at the same time, I also see how hard it is financially for them to live a traditional lifestyle. It's almost as if the liberal marketplace is taking away their freedom to live a traditional lifestyle where only one person in the household works. Of course, this couldn't possibly be the case, right? Because liberalism equals freedom. There's no way that liberalism could cause less freedom, right? That would be impossible. But the point I'm bringing up is this video isn't to poke fun at Mormon people, and it's not even to poke fun or criticize transgender people. No, this is a video about whether the taxpayers should be obligated to pay for surgery for transgender people. Is this just a goofy legal decision that occurred in Idaho, or is America looking forward to a dickless future?
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Now, the first thing I want to say on this subject is the Founding Fathers would be absolutely ashamed by this court ruling. If George Washington or Thomas Jefferson were here right now, I'm fairly certain that they would tell you that this U.S. District Court judge completely misunderstands the concept of freedom in liberalism. During the period of the founding of our country, it was expected that elite and wealthy men would attend a liberal arts college where they would learn to be a good liberal. A liberal arts education would mean studying the Western traditions, reading ancient and medieval philosophy, learning the history of Europe, and of course, learning about Christianity. Although not all of the Founding Fathers were overtly Christian, some of them were deists, they were still products of a Christian culture, and they learned Christian values, especially when they attended their liberal arts college. Back during the period of time of the founding, it was understood that becoming a good liberal citizen meant separating yourself from your lower, more base biological desires. This would give you the freedom to act virtuously, to do the right thing, to be a good citizen. Things like greed, materialism, sexual desire, desire for food or drugs were the sort of things that a good liberal would try and free themselves from. It was understood that by studying the humanities, men would learn that letting go of these base desires in order to pursue a lifestyle of virtue would lead them to have happier lives. By becoming virtuous citizens, these men were in a position where they could have healthy, positive relationships with other people, as well as with the towns and cities that they lived in. You see, pursuing things like sex, money, drugs, traps someone in what's called the hedonic cycle. When you have an orgasm, shoot up heroin, or receive a raise at your job, you're temporarily satisfied, but that doesn't last. You constantly want to seek out more and more, a bigger high, a new sexual experience, even more money. Now, if you could constantly up the ante, then that wouldn't be a problem. If you just every month got a raise, then maybe you could remain satisfied with that type of life. But sooner or later, you're going to hit a roadblock and you're not going to be able to advance anymore. Pursuing this hedonic cycle makes people miserable. If a man chooses instead not to chase these fleeting moments of pleasure and instead focus on their own character and their relationships with people close to them, then they will be happier overall and will not be set up to constantly crave something new. This was the wisdom of Western society, the wisdom of the liberal arts education, and the original understanding that the founders had when they talked about freedom and liberty. This transgender prison inmate issue, this legal ruling giving them the right to a taxpayer-paid sexual reassignment surgery, just shows how far we've fallen from the original concept of liberty. No longer is freedom about being a good citizen in a constitutional republic. No, these days freedom is all about the hormones that you have in your nutsack. Things that the founding fathers would have considered the most pointless, the most shallow and superficial aspects of a human being, like who they want to sleep with, is now the most important part of a person's identity. Now, let's talk about why having the taxpayers have to pay for this type of surgery is stupid and unfair. From what I understand, transgender people feel like they were born the wrong gender. Perhaps a man is born with many female features and a personality that adheres to a female stereotype, and he feels personally like he should be a woman, but he has male genitalia. If he could have surgery in order to change his body to be more like that of a woman, then he would be able to pass as a woman in theory, and he would have a happier life. People would see him for who he was on the inside, a woman. This appears to be the reason why transgender people want to have these surgeries. It's so their outward appearance adheres to whatever image they have of themselves, what they think that they should look like to other people. But here's why this is so unfair. It's not just transgendered people that have an issue with their physical appearance. There are plenty of people who are born into ugly bodies. There are short men. There are people born with warts and other ugly disfigurements on their face. There are women who are born with small breasts. Someone's genes could lead them to have a propensity for overeating, or they might make someone put on weight more easily. A lot of these people who are born into ugly bodies believe that their outward appearance doesn't fairly represent how they view themselves on the inside. These ugly people also would desire to have surgery that would make them into the more attractive people that they would like to be. After all, survey after survey shows that more attractive people receive better opportunities in life. They're more likely to be paid more and much more likely to be promoted. So if transgender people are allowed to have surgery paid by the taxpayers so that they can live a truer version of themselves, so that they can have the better opportunities that they would like to have as a result of changing genders, then why aren't these same surgeries available at taxpayer expense to ugly people? I understand the transgendered person didn't choose to be born in that gender, but neither did the ugly person choose to be born in an ugly body. Right now, it's people who are locked up in prison who are requesting these taxpayer-paid surgeries. But here's how rights work in the United States. They only move in one direction. There was never a point where the rights of gays, of minorities, of women expanded and then retracted. Nope, once people get the rights or entitlements, they get those permanently. The only direction that it's going to go after that point is to increase the amount of rights or entitlements. So right now it'll be the prison inmates who taxpayers will have to pay for their sexual reassignment surgery, but it's only a matter of time till the people on welfare who receive health care provided by the state get the same entitlement. Now, I've been to a female prison before, and I've been to a male prison before. And let me tell you, there's one of those that is much better than the other. If you're someone who cares a lot about inequality between the different sexes, I would encourage you to visit a women's prison and then visit a men's prison and write down all the reasons that they are extremely different from one another. Any man who's serving the rest of his life behind bars has a pretty big incentive to change his gender under the current conditions that exist in our prison system. That's why these precedents are so dangerous. They're going to potentially open the floodgates, and it's going to be expensive as hell for all those hardworking LDS men in Idaho, as well as throughout the United States. After all, the cost of a sexual reassignment surgery is between $20,000 to $30,000. Now, one thing that's ironic about this is that several years ago in one of the more conservative states, I think it was Mississippi, but I'm not sure about that, floated the idea of giving people in prison who were convicted of committing certain sexual offenses a reduced sentence if they agreed to castrate themselves. Assuming that castration removes the sexual desires of the offender, this could potentially be a much more cost-effective way of deterring this type of conduct. Of course, when Mississippi or whatever other state proposed this, it caused an absolute shit show at the ACLU. In fact, they ran out of ambulances and had to commandeer taxi cabs due to the number of ACLU lawyers who were completely stroking out over what Mississippi was proposing. Of course, times have changed, and now it's groups like the ACLU and their allies who are fighting for the right to hack off the nuts of prisoners. Everything I've talked about in this video so far leads me to the following conclusion. This political controversy is the most ironic, most stupid, and most unfair political controversy that I think anyone could come up with in the United States. Unfortunately, like I said earlier in the video, rights only go one direction. It's only a matter of time before this precedent gets set. And once prisoners can get taxpayers to pay for their sex change, it's only a matter of time until people on welfare can. This is not an issue that the right is going to be in any position to prevail on. As much as I can criticize it or make fun of it with jokes in this video, this is the future in our system. As long as we keep doing what we've been doing for so long in this country, this is inevitable. Well, I hope you liked this video. I haven't had much subscriber growth in the last month, so if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'd absolutely appreciate it if you'd go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks.